This ship seems awkwardly low in the water. Ooh, auto chaps, I'm MagicalMike, and that observation was fairly useless, as will be a common theme throughout this video as I talk about Stronghold, the new PvP mode coming with Heart of Thorns. We got a 24-hour preview period on Tuesday the 14th of April, and I took the opportunity to quote beta test the map, though cynical old me thinks it was less for beta and more of a carrot on the stick to ward off the lack of content currently. But that's neither here nor there. All that aside, I played about 7 matches of Stronghold and have some thoughts about it. First off, I should say that I'm only level 51 in PvP, so by no means am I experienced enough to talk about high level play. I should also point out that yes, I do realise that 7 games is absolutely not enough experience to get enough data from. However, I should also make a point of saying that this should have been super exciting, and I should have played tons more games than that, because I played like a lunatic whenever we got the original stress tests and beta weekends before Guild Wars 2 released. But 7 games was all I could manage. Unfortunately, I just wasn't that enthralled by the game type, which is strange, because I'm no stranger to PvP and I do enjoy Conquest, so I'll try my best to explain what I mean by all of this. But first, you should know that the footage rolling in the background is my last game that I played as a power necro, and that I wasn't exactly carrying very hard, if you know what I mean. Okay, so the main question is Stronghold any good? And the short answer to that is yes. To elaborate, Stronghold is just as good of a game type in theory as Conquest. It has strong, defined mechanics and allows for a lot of strategy to be implemented by each individual player, and on a grander scale as an entire team. But the thing is, I prefer Conquest as a game mode to actually play. Stronghold feels like it's a much simpler game type to watch, and it feels like it's been designed in that way to be watched as an esport or as a spectator than Conquest is, and it's much more complicated to figure out what's actually going on as a player. Currently we only have 5v5 in this mode, and people are spread very thinly across the map, which allows for objective prioritization to become an important tactic. I feel like we could certainly improve the team sizes to maybe 8v8, and that would maybe change things quite a lot. Do we want the Treb? Do we want to destroy the enemy Treb? How many people do we need to run supply? How many need to defend, and how many need to attack? And do we need to grab the Mist Essence every single time? Do we need to grab both Mist Essences? There's way too many things for a team of 5 people to do effectively, which means you're going to have to sacrifice people and objectives at times and end up leaving people to solo stuff. Not receiving help from a second player for a long period of time can seriously hurt a build like mine, and I certainly felt it. I found that thieves and any build with a huge amount of mobility like my Warrior Sword Warhorn Greatsword build can excel in keeping the flow of the game in your favour. They can run supply so well, they can cover both lanes effectively, they can jump into and out of battles across the map and disengage easily, and not really feel too badly about being able to run across the map a lot. And I don't necessarily mind that those builds work so well, but what I did find is that people were very slow to react when a lane, a gate, or even the Lord needed help. I also found that the Archer NPCs were pretty much next to, if not completely useless. NPCs are not a particularly fun mechanic when they aren't dangerous to the player. Heroes are game-winning forces that need to be dealt with immediately, and the fact that they don't really attack players unless they're at a gate or the Lord is quite strange. I found myself defending for 5 out of the 7 games that I played. The constant stream of NPCs was a steady amount of pressure that I had to deal with, otherwise we would have lost even faster. It also meant that I hardly had any real player versus player combat in the time that I was playing. I found that people would often just ignore you to run more supply and keep you busy that way, which is a valid tactic, but it isn't PvP in my PvP, it's PvE in my PvP, and that's really what World v World is kinda for. I also found out that defending is really quite boring for me. I don't really want to sit there and slaughter wave after wave of NPCs. And the same on the attacking side, I don't want to defend them either. I don't want to mess with NPCs. I want to fight players, not babysit my lanes like this is some kind of MOBA. So running supply is clearly the key to winning a Stronghold match, but the heroes are the real game changers. If you cannot stop the enemy from channeling these guys, then you better hope that they don't actually escort them properly. And I found that the only way to interrupt players from doing that is to strip them from stability and, actually get dazes and interrupts off. But one elementalist with 10 stacks of stability from Armour of Earth can almost 100% get one of those channels off. Good luck trying to knock that many stability stacks off unless you're a thief with that one particular trait. So in regards to these heroes, if you manage to get one, the 50% damage reduction aura on them is huge, and if that forces a team fight, which it often does if those teammates who have collected that hero decide to then escort it, then you're at a severe disadvantage because you're going to have to focus that hero before he gets to the gate, while they're healing and defending him, and also attacking you. It becomes a very difficult thing to deal with, and all of this means that once a team gets any kind of momentum going, it's incredibly difficult to come back from it. At least that's what I experienced. None of the 7 games that I played were close in any way. I either won easily, or I lost incredibly hard. And in part this is due to a lack of communication from pugs and a lack of defined roles right now, but it certainly contributed to the overall feeling of meh that I was left with Stronghold. Stronghold is a nice map. It has some strong mechanics behind it, and could be fun to watch, but in my opinion it's not any better than Conquest, and it remains to be seen how the players will adapt to this kind of playstyle. I'd love to hear some feedback from the top teams as to what they think about this, but I also want to wait until they've had a lot more time to play with it, because people haven't really had nearly enough time to figure out if it's any good or not at that high level of play. As for me, well, in my short time playing with it, I have decided that I'm not that excited anymore. It'll be nice to have a change of pace, but for me, the hype is most certainly not real. I've been MagicalMike, thanks for listening to me prattle on, and I will see you guys next time.